When you want Chicago's classic hits, turn to 94.7 WLS. For traffic and weather info, tune in to 890 AM WLS for traffic and weather first on the fives when you need it most.
Mid-morning Chicago on 89 WLS. John Cass, Lauren Cohn. She's the broadcaster. I'm the one with the voice for print. And we are now joined by one of my favorite journalists and financial experts, Lou Dobbs, host of Lou Dobbs Tonight on the Fox Business Network, and that airs nightly at 6 p.m. Central Time. Mr. Dobbs, are you on?
Well, Mr. Cass, I am, and delighted to be with you.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks so much.
So
I love that voice for print.
Well, that's something that we all know, so we might as well acknowledge it out front.
I was just thinking how many people would pay a fortune to have those pipes of yours.
Well,
you can hear him sing.
There's a lot of beef sandwiches and hot peppers behind that. So tell us now how you're speaking, of course, to me, and I'm not a liberal. I'm not a liberal at any stretch of the imagination. But what I notice is that, or what I'm longing for, are some conservatives in Congress to actually take a stand on spending. Where are they, Mr. Dobbs?
Well, first, amen, brother.
Right.
I got to say, I find myself more frustrated with the Republicans than I am with this president, simply because I know what to expect from President Obama.
Yeah, what are they? They're the big government tax party and hiring their brothers-in-law and their...
I mean, here they were all pro to have spending cuts and staying strong on a deal, and now they're all saying, okay, we have another 3 months to twiddle our thumbs and figure it out.
What do you see happening, Lou?
Well, I think that we're seeing some movement on the part of both the Republicans in the House and the President toward if not the center, at least toward a pragmatic resolution of the debt ceiling issue, which, frankly, is so tangential to what should be focused on, which is reducing the size of government, reducing spending, and coming together philosophically and ideologically about what will be the role of the federal government in our society. But that is not the discussion the Republicans seemingly want to have, at least their leadership. They should be, instead of worrying about if you will, the technocratic terms of the federal budget, they should be talking about the size of that budget, the size of the deficit for the next 5 years, and at the point at which we're going to insist upon a balanced budget. But they're not doing that. And they're not talking about the role of government. No. They talk about dependency and takers, but this is about how do we restore prosperity, economic growth, the dignity, and the income that comes with a job.
Amen. Amen.
So I don't know where they're headed.
Well, how's this? We know the Democrats, being from Chicago, and I've covered Chicago politics for the last several centuries, we know what they're about. They're about using government to break somebody's back and make the other guy rich, and the other guy helps them, eat well for the rest of their lives. But the Republicans, it looks to me, the reason why they can't do what you're asking them, and Lauren and I are asking them to do, is because they're engaged in their own fight right now. Right. They're fighting. They talk about, and I would love to see cuts on the domestic spending side, but then at the same time, the Republicans are confounded by this problem. They want to expand or export power throughout the world.
Right.
And so in other words, if you're going to cut domestically, don't you have to cut militarily as well? You
do. And I think and this is the part I was talking about when I said there has to be a philosophical and ideological discussion. And I guess we could begin there as easily as with domestic policy. We know this, that right now in these difficult economic times, it would be madness for any politician, and I mean any politician, to pull back on Social Security for those who are dependent upon it, for Medicare for those who are dependent upon it. But in time, we have to do just that because it's not sustainable. In foreign policy and in geopolitical affairs, we have to understand that the United States has always succeeded best when it maintained its own perspectives within its own borders.
Exactly.
and did not try to extend them beyond. That is an imperial power. It is exactly what we are accused of being by so many, so wrongly, in my opinion. But so long as we seek to extend our power now to Africa from the Middle East, and how dare the Chinese think that they are closer to Asia than we are.
Right.
This president is talking as if a man who wants to engage every power in the world, whether the power of global radical Islamist terrorists, or whether it be the Chinese People's Liberation Army. This has got to stop, and it's a waste of treasure. And too often, as we've seen in Afghanistan and Iraq, it costs far too much of our youth's blood for what are at best vague and ambiguous goals.
Lou, I have to ask you this for the people who are at home, who are watching Washington, and sometimes their eyes glaze over when they just keep talking about the debt ceiling hike and are sitting themselves going, we're held to certain standards in our own homes. John and I talked about this yesterday. We're accountable for our own debt. We're accountable for running our own households. We're not just passing off, that old, I have debt on my credit card, pass it off to the next credit card, like they're doing in Washington. Why is our government not held to the same standards that they're asking us to hold at home?
Well, there has been a change in attitude. It's best, it's clear at the voting booth. There is a sense that once upon a time in this country that working men and women and those who were middle class and aspired to it could depend upon our elites, our best and our brightest from academia, from media, from politics, from business, would go to Washington, D.C. and represent the consensus view and values of America and the American dream. What has happened, almost in a stealth manner, is that suddenly the elites are, first of all, less capable than they once were, in my opinion, less talented. Secondly, they're more self-interested, and the goals and the values are now diffused rather than focused in public policy, whether domestic or foreign. As a result, our middle class can no longer rely on those who, at one time in this country, they could. And right now, that's the great disconnect between government and, broadly, mainstream America.
Mr. Dobbs, Lou Dobbs, who's host of Lou Dobbs Tonight, Fox Business Network, nightly at 6 p.m. I can't thank you enough for articulating a cogent, conservative point of view that I'm not hearing from the Republicans and clearly wouldn't hear from the grabby Democrats. Thank you, sir.
Thanks, Lou.
And Lauren and I will have to just keep trying.
We'll just have to have lunch over that. Thank you so much. And let's say we will be back. I'm John Cass with Lauren Cohn. We'll be back right after this.
89 WLS.
Coming up today, 2 on Ron Roper. Be careful what you put in your mouth. It may not be real.
Plus, did a former head coach actually throw the Super Bowl?
Ron Roper, afternoons 2 to 6, 89 WLS.
No, a former coach did not throw the Super Bowl. This is John Cass, 89 WLS. Lauren, you just got back.
I timed myself, John. It took me 2 minutes and 10 seconds, so if I was in China, I would have been fired.
Here's the deal. In the talk show business, you drink a lot of coffee, okay? And there's some times when you have to excuse yourself. Lauren, bring us up to date on the potty break riots of China.
Yeah, so in Shanghai, this electric company, the workers decided to go on strike, and they basically held all the managers hostage because they have a new rule that says you have 2 minutes to go relieve yourself in the men's room or the ladies' room. And the workers say, hey, you know what, that is certainly not enough time. They also say...
What are they making there? Like hot dogs or something? Because
it's an electric company.
What about washing your hands afterward?
And I say this on behalf of all women out there. I think it sometimes takes women a little bit longer than men.
Why aren't we equal? We're supposed to be equal in all things, Lauren.
This is why you always see those long lines when you go to the stadiums, why the women are and the men don't have a long line, why they ask for bigger bathrooms for women. It just takes women longer.
Why do women get more stuff? First of all, here's the thing about women that I've only been married 25 years. I've loved Betty.
You have separate bathrooms.
And I told you the last time, and I know you love the story, when I met Betty, she was walking, we were on the little hill.
I know, the purple dress.
Outside the village there. And she was half more Greek than Italian. and I was hit by the thunderbolt. But two things. Women always seem to take your breath mints, okay? If you have breath mints, they always seem to take them, number one. I don't know why they always end up with the breath mints in their purse. And number two, why do they have to have bigger bathrooms?
It takes women longer, but more importantly, why are people being told they only have 2 minutes in China to go to the bathroom? And if not, you're out the door.
Do you have only 2 minutes to go? Is your boss rude to you? Are you ready to riot in your cubicles at work? Let us know, 591-8900. This is John Cass, Lauren Cohn, helping you through this bathroom outrage.
89 WLS. We're Chicago's talk leader because of you. So help us make the WLS News Department the best in Chicago. If you witness news, call the 89 WLS News Tip Hotline at 312-236-0507.
John Cass, Lauren Cohn here, 89 WS, taking your calls, 591-8900. When we come back after the break in the next hour, we'll be talking about the oozing
she's an emotional
weasel.
wreck this morning.
Oh, she's so full of it.
I can't tell if she's
Hillary
shouting
Clinton,
or crying.
And then there's Durbin sucking up to her, which I love that sack of Durbin sucking up to her. In the meantime,
by the way, if I'm going to be late.
In China, Lauren, is the whole country like running around in circles, like, you know, where they have to go and they can't go?
They can't go. They're not allowed to go. But you know what? You've been late the last couple of days, so you know what? In the words of Donald Trump, you're fired.
Thank you. I'm gone.
They basically also say if you're the first time you're late, you get fined. Second time you're late, you're out.
This is my second job. I already have another job after this. So if I'm a little
John.
late, I just had to have my extra iced coffee.
What is going on down there?
I had to rattle it in memory of Jake Hartford, my buddy, because he hated the ice thing.
Instead of the 2 minutes, what do you think would be a good amount of time?
How about a day?
You have a day to go to the bathroom?
No, like a day.
What if you have stomach upset? What if you had something bad to eat?
It takes 4 hours. I don't care. You know, but because they never worked for my dad. All right, I worked for my dad at the store. It took you had to wash your hands, and he inspected. If you didn't wash your hands, you were fired. You were fired. And
did he count how many times you went to the bathroom?
He would just give you a look. You know,
you can't do that.
All right, listen. When we get back, Benghazi and the Weasels. Right now, John Cass, Lauren Cohn, 89 WLS.
You're fired.
From Chicago to the North American continent.
In our 89th year, entertaining Chicago, 89 WLS.